Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel at Future Way Next to World included my favorite destination Canada. Today we're going to talk about no extensions for PGWPs in Canada immigration. IRCC Latest Updates. We are talking on some big changes happening with the post-graduation work permit program in Canada. If you're thinking of starting your career in Canada after you graduate, you need to pay attention. Goes through all the details, and while things are getting a lot more complicated now that those pandemic extensions are gone, so let's break it down for you, starting with a quick reminder of PGWP. That's the post-graduation work permit is your key to working in Canada after you finish studying, and with no more extensions you really got to plan carefully. Exactly right, the pandemic really shook things up in the immigration system, created this kind of temporary bubble with all those extended PGWP between 2020 and 2022, and it wasn't just students who benefited, even foreign workers got some extra time. But now the focus is shifting, so instead of extending everyone's day, Canada's government is trying to get things back in balance. More permanent residents and fewer people stuck on temporary permits. That must be really tough, where we're seeing a lot of confusion, even frustration. People thought those pandemic extensions were the new normal, but that's not true. They were always temporary. The important thing to remember now is that there are no more automatic extensions. You have to follow the usual rules for work permits. The basic requirements for a PGWP haven't changed. You still need to have finished a program at least 8 months long at a designated learning institution, right, among other things. Those core requirements haven't changed much, which is good for those still in school or planning to study in Canada. But there's a pretty big change when it comes to extensions. Get ready for this. You can't just go to the border and get a PGWP extension anymore. Those days are over. That's a big deal. No more quick trips to the border then. Sounds like following the official immigration process is the only way to go now. No more shortcuts. So what happens to those whose PGWP is expiring? And we're counting on that border extension. Are they out of luck? Not necessarily. There are still other ways to stay in Canada, though each one has its own challenges. One option is the spousal work permit, but even that's gotten stricter recently. I can see that being a popular choice for people who've met someone in Canada and are building a life here. So what's changed with the spousal work permit requirements, and are there other options if you're not married or in a common law relationship? You're right, it is a common choice, but recent changes mean you need even more proof to show that your relationship is real. As for other options, there's the bridging open work permit. It's a great option because it lets you keep working while you're waiting for your permanent residency application to be processed. That bridging part seems so important, especially with these long processing time. I have a feeling it gets even more complicated when we talk about work permits tied to a specific employer. Those closed work permits, right? You're absolutely right. Closed work permits definitely add another layer of complexity. You not only need to meet the general work permit requirements, but you also need your employer to do a bunch of stuff for you. Things like meeting those higher wage thresholds and getting that labor market impact assessment, LMIA. It's not enough to just find any job anymore. You really need an employer who's ready to go all in to support your application, and with these stricter requirements it must be even harder for people to switch jobs or try different careers. Exactly, it definitely makes things less flexible, and that's where getting advice from an immigration lawyer can be really helpful. They can help you figure out all the details of these different work permits. If you qualify and come up with the best plan for your specific situation, it's like having an expert guide leading you through the jungle of Canadian immigration. Earlier, applying for visitor status while you're waiting for a decision on permanent residency. What's the catch with that strategy? Well, it's a good way to stay in Canada legally while your PR application is being processed, but it's not a sure thing. Immigration officers need to be convinced that you'll actually leave Canada. If your PR application is rejected, you need strong proof to back up your case that show you have real ties to your home country and reasons to go back. So it's not as easy as just submitting a visitor visa application and crossing your fingers. You need a good story, solid evidence, and to really understand the rules. It seems like having an immigration lawyer on your side could be super important for this strategy too, don't you think? Absolutely. They can make sure your application highlights all the important details and avoids any red flags that might lead to rejection. Remember, it's all about showing dual intent, meaning you genuinely want to stay in Canada permanently but are also willing to leave temporarily. Better start by really digging into the different work permit options, permanent residency pathways, and even the details of that visitor visa strategy. The more you understand, the better decisions you can make. It's like having a map before you start a road trip, right? You might hit detours or roadblocks along the way, but having that MATC gives you confidence and helps you navigate those twists and turns right. And even though these changes might feel scary, there's still amazing opportunities in Canada. It just takes being more proactive, strategic, and informed, maybe more than it did a few years ago. You've got your PGWP, the clock is ticking, and you're determined to make Canada your home. What's your plan? What steps are you taking right now to deal with this new reality and reach your goals? First step, whether it's talking to an immigration lawyer, researching different work permit options, or just taking some time to think about your long-term goals, every action you take brings you closer to the future you want. It's like planting a seed. You might not see results right away, but with consistent effort, patience, and a bit of luck, that seed will grow into something amazing. Absolutely, your Canadian dream is still possible. It just takes a bit more planning, resilient, and maybe some creative thinking to navigate this changing landscape. We've talked about the end of those easy PGWP extensions, the importance of understanding your work permit options, and that potential but tricky strategy of using visitor status as a bridge to permanent residency. We've also talked about how your consultations and ultimately your decisions, and the interesting thing is there's no one-size-fits-all answer, right? Exactly. Your best strategy depends on so many things, like your field of study, your work experience, your financial situation, your family ties, and how much risk you're comfortable with, just to name a few. And don't forget your long-term goals. What do you ultimately want to achieve in Canada? Are you looking to get a few years of work experience and then go back home, or are you aiming for permanent residency and maybe even Canadian citizenship? That question will really affect the path you choose. We've given you the tools and insights to start exploring your options, but the real work starts now. Keep researching, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep believing in your dreams. I love that we'll be here to support you every step of the way. The world of Canadian immigration, breaking down those complicated policies and highlighting the most important takeaways. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our future episodes. We've got some really interesting deep dives coming up, covering everything from Expressentry updates to the latest trends in the Canadian job market. We're your guides, your companions, your fellow explorers on this incredible journey. So buckle up, stay curious, and let's navigate this exciting and always changing world together. Until next time, keep those dreams alive. That is all for today in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully the information is useful to you. See you later in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.